All right, here we are back with part two of our critique and review of the assignment submissions for the point of view assignment. You did awfully good on part one. Let's see how it's going with part two. Here's our first one. Wow, a turntable. What an interesting thing. How many in the class will look at this and have any clue what this is? All you young whippersnappers. Well, this has exactly the same issues that we've had with some of the others. We've got a distracting line down here, and our main subject here, the main point of view, the critical element, is the head down on the vinyl record. A lot of the rest of this really isn't doing as much good. This out of focus line is a little distracting. So I think what we need to do is to come in on this considerably tighter. So let's try this. And we'll bring it up from the bottom to get rid of that out of focus black area. And now we can really concentrate on the head for this tone arm. So again, it's pretty subtle, but it makes a big difference in how we're able to know for sure what the subject is from this original to our cropped version. So let's try the next one. By the way, this is really well exposed. I mean, with all of you guys, you really are doing some awfully good image capture here. Very nice dandelion shot. And it's different from most. Usually you see the head of the dandelion right square in the center, and that's pretty enough. But this is kind of cool, seeing it up off to the side like this. I'm not sure I would do much of anything, but what would happen if we came in just a hair tighter on this? We really don't need all of the outside material. This is pretty strong all on its own. So I think I would do no more than maybe that subtle little bit of cropping. What I might do, and this would have been more properly done in the camera raw conversion, so I'm going to go up and use the camera raw filter and see if I can get the same effect. What I want to do is bring the highlights down a little, but the whites back up so I can separate some of this material up here. And I'm going to elevate the vibrance to sharpen all that up just a little bit. So, okay, and that's really about all I would do to this. I think this is a very nice shot. Let's grab the next one. This was a pretty clever shot of what I assume is a stall or something in an old barn. There's again a couple of issues. Right across the top is the top of one of the slats, and that line across there is really kind of distracting. So again, I would get rid of that, and that's very simple to do. We'll just come in a little. I think I would bring it more in from this side. Very subtle, very small changes. Now, what I also am not sure of, I'm going to try this. These don't look level, and it's not that they necessarily should be. It's shot at an angle. But sometimes, for something as graphic as this, boy, it's subtle. It's about a degree off, I guess. Sometimes that change to make all of that work is all that it takes to really add to the graphic nature of it. So I'm going to pull that up. In order to do that, I could rotate the whole piece, but then it would just crop it. It'd create a bunch of problems. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to edit it. I'll go to transform. You all should remember all of this. Skew. I'm going to grab this handle up here and just pull this up to where it's straight. Hit enter to take it. We'll deselect the selection. Let me get rid of the guideline. Now, I'm not sure whether I like that one better or not. Let me go back here to the last one. Well, it's about 6 one, half dozen of another. The shot is pretty strong as it is. Personally, just because I'm a stickler for straight lines, I like this straight one a little better, because when it's off a little bit, we start picking up the dynamics of that wood, and I think where our real attention is down in the straw, or the grasses rather, and what looks like part of an old tire. It looks almost like a split ring off of a truck tire. We could even accentuate this more by bringing this whole thing in tighter. And create more emphasis on this grass and wheel. Really start honing in on this. Again, pretty subtle differences that are stylistic in a way. As you probably have all figured out by now, I like really getting in tight on the critical elements so that that's what I look at, and I'm not going to be seeing the rest of it moving around. So there was our larger shot. There was our original. That. And then our final. Okay, what next do we have here? Old photographers never die. Well, that gives me hope. I do hope that's correct. What I'm seeing with this one, I know you're all going to be in shock. I don't want to crop this. What I actually want to do is extend it a little bit. I feel that it's really critically tight up on this side. Not so much on this side because the handle doesn't carry all the weight that this part of the cup does. So what I want to do, what I would like to have done, is seen it shot out a little farther. But to show you what it might look like, although it'll be just a touch distorted, I'm going to pull some of that out. So the first thing I need to do is give the canvas room to move. So I'm going to go to canvas size, and I'm going to widen this out. It really doesn't matter how much as long as it's more than enough, because I'll trim it back. So I'm just going to say 1 inch. And that gave me this black area over here. Now comes the magic. I'm going to select this little thin swash. I really wish I had more than this to work with. But for our purpose, that'll do. Then I'm going to edit, and now I'm going to use a tool that we haven't played with before called Content Aware Scale. That gives me some handles here. And what I'm going to do is drag that out. I'm going to bring it a little farther than I need to so I can crop it back as I wish. I'll hit enter to take it. Deselect. Now that created this little fuzzy line on the edge of the cup lip, so we wouldn't need to go in and fix that. Fortunately, that's pretty easy. Now, when we come and crop out what's left of that black part, I think we'll be able to see what I was getting at. If that has a little more operating room, it doesn't feel nearly as squeezed up against the side as it was before. Okay, last one. Wow. Oh, this is pretty. Very pastel. This, again, I don't know if any of you kiddies would remember any of this, but this looks like a pattern for wallpaper in some of the older houses. I think it's very subtle, very pretty. But there are a couple of distracting elements. The big one, of course, is this. I have no idea what that is, but it definitely, it's light and it's bright and it takes away from the flowers. This is very subtle in here. It's not really pastel. This green is a little richer, but these really light magentas and the little fluffy hair around the edges against this pale stucco background, very subtle. It can't stand to be overpowered by something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull this down to get rid of that. Now, boy, I hate losing that. This is really a nice movement. Maybe I'm better off over here. I hate losing this too, but something's got to go. Okay, I give up. I am going to have to take some of this. This would be a judgment call to keep this. I've still got this crack in the plaster down here. I could fix that. I could pick up material here and clone this down. It would be ever so much easier to actually crop it, but that really starts losing for me this nice vertical movement of these stalks. So I think, alas, the real solution is to clone this. Before I do that, I'm going to want to bring out some of this nice fluffy looking area there. So I'm going to zoom in on it to see what I've actually got. I think that the right way to do this would be with the Camera Raw filter, because I think this is something that should have been done in Camera Raw. So I'm going to take the highlights and bring them down some so I get a little more separation between the wall and the flower, and then I'm going to bring the whites up to lighten those. Going to bring the clarity up to sharpen some of that little furry stuff on the side. Say okay. Now what I've got to decide is it worth it? Do I really need to go up and clone this shadow out? I think, unfortunately, the answer is yes. Do I really need to clone out what's left in this crack? That I don't know. That I'm not sure. So I would start with this. Let's pick up. This is going to be tricky because of the little amount of space that I've got. What I'm going to do is create some working area here. And I'm going to pick up different parts of this so I can start to pick up the modeling on this wall without repeating the patterns too much. Oh yeah, that's looking a little better. Let's come over and see what we can do here. By making sure that I'm picking up pixels and tones from all over the place, then I'm not going to create something where there's a really obvious duplication of texture and tone, which would be the giveaway of what we've done here. Okay, so that's taken care of the top part of this. Now the question would be, do we need to do it down here? I would really like to think not, but I'm not sure. So what I would do is I'm going to save a snapshot of it at this point. Because now we have some really tedious stuff to do. Well, I think that looks better without the break in it. So I would take the time to go ahead and finish that off. Come in here, we'll have to make the brush smaller. So we can come and do this little tiny stuff in here. But with a little bit of repetition, we can fill this in. We can make all of this work. So, sorry. It'd be nice if there were a much faster way to do this. But I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, that'll be better. I would take it out. So that's it. Again, you guys did some really nice shooting for this. Nice point of view. It was a nice selection. I didn't bother showing the overviews in here, but you understood what I asked for with a basic overview class. To my surprise, one of the classes didn't seem to get it, and all they did was a close-up shot of something and then a slightly wider shot of the same thing. You guys really understood getting the overview of the whole area and then coming and showing me a selected thing. So congratulations, you all did really good on this, and we'll now be ready to move on to whatever is going to fall out of the sky and be next. So see you next time.